All right, Thompson to Clark. It's opening day week,
Yeah.
technically. We'll have some real baseball on Thursday. Right now, we are in the beginning of the Bay Bridge series, Giants and A's. I know tomorrow the Giants are promoting it as possibly the last time you will see Panda in a Giants uniform.
Yeah, they really pumped that up, huh? That's kind of like get everybody in the ballpark, just tell them, hey, come show your love for Pablo. So obviously, he's not going to be on the 25 man, 26 man, should I
Yeah,
say.
I don't think so.
No, but he did say, at the beginning of all of this, at the beginning of spring, when they signed him, he did say he would not be opposed to playing in Sacramento. So
Would
kind of,
they? I mean, I guess that is a spot that you could possibly find for him on that team.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and also, gosh, I mean, you've got a guy with tons of big league experience able to mentor, some infielders like Casey Schmidt and Will Wilson and those
Okay,
guys.
do we really want him to be a mentor? I mean, you
I
remember what
mean,
he was like when he was a young chap.
yes, but he has grown up and matured, right? That's what I'm hearing. I mean, that's what
No, Logan
some
Webb
of
pretty much.
the
Logan Webb said that he kind of took him under his wing when
yeah,
he was a rookie. Yeah,
yeah. So yeah,
it's just funny because I remember some folks telling me that, oh yeah, Pablo's like tweeting at me, like what's going on? Like, and
he's a
they
wild
were of
card, man.
yeah, they were female, of course, but that was when he was a very young man in Twitter and
Playa.
social media and that
Yeah,
stuff.
that's
So
a playa right there, man.
yeah. All right. So a couple things here. Now we had for the channel, for the BSPN channel, we have we were doing a March Madness, the women's bracket, and we had we have a bunch of people sign up, and as of right now, though the second round is still going, there will be games going on for the next couple hours. We have Brian, my co-host for the Death Lineup. He's currently in the lead. My buddy Scott E is second. Young Randall is third, and I am tied for fourth. So we'll keep that going because the tournament still has a couple more weeks left, but we'll update who's winning and such in our women's NCAA bracket. I've been actually watching.
I played in the men's last year and I came in dead last, right?
I wanted you to join the women's one because I mean, there
wouldn't
are
know anything.
well, but everybody's flying blind, and so you're
Hmm.
just looking at seeds, and you're going like, "Oh, I've heard of her." But the thing is I know more women's players this year than I know men's players. The only men's player that I know of is LeBron James's son. I think that's the only men's college basketball player I know.
Old Bronny.
Yeah. So, but it's been fun watching the women's tournament. Saw Stanford win last night. We're kind of scouting for the WNBA team in the Bay Area next year. That's where
cool. Is that a new thing? Is that a new team in the Bay Area?
they are there? I think there's going to be two teams next year that are joining, and one of them is San Francisco, Oakland. We're not even sure the name, but they are going to play their games at Chase. So I'm sure they'll be an easier ticket to get than Warriors for sure. So I'm sure we'll go to a few games. So all right, the other thing is, Brad and I are going to be on the Bleacher Report app tomorrow. We're going to do a little season preview of the Giants. That's kind of what we're doing here today as well, but we'll do a little bit of a different one. It's only a half an hour. It is at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to check us out, just download that Bleacher Report app. I think all you have to do is follow the Giants, and maybe you'll get some notifications or something. Anyways, they put, they'll take bits and pieces of our show and put it on videos and such. I always have people shooting emails and texts at me going like, I was just looking through Bleacher Report and they're like, when did you do this? What's going on? So yeah, so actually we're going to do 3 shows with them over the next month or so. We'll let everybody know. And I think last time they let us upload the actual video on our BSPN channel. So if you miss it on Bleacher Report, I think if they still will allow us to do that, we'll upload it on our channel. So, all right. Well, like I said, the beginning of the season is later this week for the Giants. We're going to talk a little bit about the team and just thoughts on the roster. Logan Webb said it's the most talented roster he's ever been on, and that he's also on that 2021 team that won 107 games. So either he doesn't believe that team was very talented and it was all luck, or he really likes the roster. Well, also, we're going to bring back our Bitter Giants segment because there's a lot of stuff going on with one Shohei Ohtani right now and his interpreter. We'll talk about that. And then at the end, Brad is going to bust out the over-unders like we did last year. And he'll write them down and we'll clip that. We'll also put it on YouTube. We'll put it on the blog as well. So we'll have a record that we'll keep for the entire season.
I think last year we didn't do too well, but that's okay. We play the game anyways. I think they're all over unders except for, let's see, I've got 4 over unders and 1 yes, no.
Okay, there we go.
50-50. And so boggles my mind how bad we did last year. So I'm hoping we do much
I hope
better.
there's no stolen bases ones.
Keep hoping, bud. That's my thing. I have to put, I'm a big stolen base guy. I want to see some stolen bases. That's exciting. People talk about boring baseball, the boring baseball that we played last year. You want to make it exciting. You steal some bags. You get guys in scoring position for free. And you could see some more excitement, man, especially with the new lighting at Oracle Park. You score some runs and you're going to start getting some flashing orange lights and all kinds of fun stuff, man.
The the stolen base one it's just iconic because we had the Bryce Johnson one last year. And
this time
barely played.
I didn't go with a specific player this time.
Okay.
I've learned my lesson, so yes.
But the other thing about it is with that new rule about getting in front of the bag, like, are those going to count as actual stolen bases, or are those going to count as interference? Like, how's that going to work?
I don't know. That's a good question because that could kind of bump things up. So we're going to we'll make our decision. And then we'll look at the rule. If anything makes it super weird, I don't think that's going to affect too many plays at second base. Because, like you said, you told me in a text, you said they're going to adapt, right?
Yeah,
the fielders are going to adapt. There was just a really awful call against Lindor a couple days ago where he received the ball. By the time he got the ball, the base runner was probably still a good 10 to 12 feet away from the bag. Lindor's foot was maybe covering half of the bag, but the runner going from first to second. So he caught the ball and then made the tag. The runner had to slide and wasn't even going to touch the base, and Lindor just tagged him. And so they called him safe because Lindor's foot was covering half of the bag.
I mean, the runner was almost out, like, so badly, like remember in Major League when Willie Mays, like he does the head first slide, he doesn't actually reach
comes up short,
and the second baseman's like, come on, like that's almost as bad. And still, I think it's just, that there are these little tricks to baseball. There's these little things that you do to try to gain that edge. And when we were in high school, sometimes you'd only have one umpire. If you're lucky, you had 2. There are things you could do where the umpire can't catch everything,
right?
And little deeks here and there that may not be 100% on the level, but you kind of get away with what you can get away with. But in today's day and age, like, you can't get away with anything in baseball. Like the umpires are looking for stuff. They can go to the cameras on certain plays. It's got to be tough for that, like, little instinctual thing for some of these infielders to do where they try to gain that edge. And it's like, nope, can't even do that anymore. Sorry, bud.
And
So, yeah.
they keep just adding more and more of these things to it. So it makes it difficult. I mean, it's geared a little bit more towards offense now with some of these rules, especially, how many times you can throw over,
Mhm.
and then on top of it, bigger bases, and now you can't put a foot anywhere near, like a toe in front of the bag. It's considered blocking the bag. So I think in a situation like that, they need to kind of rewrite the rule to basically say, look, that runner was going to be out no matter what. Now, if you're blocking the bag and judgment call says, you know what, that runner would have been safe had he not had to slide into your foot, then okay, I get it. Give him the bag. But when you're that far out, there is no world where that runner would have been safe no matter what happened. So I think the judgment needs to come in a little bit better. And maybe that umpire had a little talking to and they said,
So,
hey,
I
man,
I
think
I
about
agree with you in that sense, but I do wonder if you want umpires making judgment calls on if the throw beats them, blah, 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 then you get to the point of where you're like, I mean, what are we actually going through with the play for? If, the throw beats him
yeah,
and, maybe he's gonna slide around the bag or something and he could have made it. And so, I like them, at least in spring training, just going by the actual rule, like we're gonna be really strict on this rule. And then hopefully by the time, mid-season, all the infielders will have all of those little things out of their system, and they'll
right.
sort of, they won't do the thing that Lindor did on that very easy play, because that's it's also like it's just so much repetition,
Yeah.
and he's gonna have to do how he's gonna cover the bag now. He's gonna have to do that 150 times in order for him to feel comfortable. So it's just different.
Yeah.
And I wonder, do you think that they told these guys, like, how long ago do you think they told these guys, here's going to be the rule for spring training and the season?
I know it was before spring training, so I think the rule changes happened in like December, so it had to be around there. And Matt Williams, there was an article, and Matt Williams has been working with the infielders on
Mhm.
this. So when Matt Chapman was signed late, he did mention Matt Chapman said, "Hey, I got to get with Matty, and I got to figure this out because I know that." There's a lot of things I can't do in front of the bag now. So it's just going to have to be a matter of go back to straddling the bag like I did in high school and all that stuff so you don't get hurt. And
Yeah.
again, it is a safety rule. So I totally understand the spirit of the rule. I just see in a situation like that where I think there's Lindor's foot in front of the bag did not stop this play outcome. So that's kind of where I have a little bit of a problem. But yeah, we'll see. Like you said, I mean, we'll kind of see how it goes as time goes on. It's not a reviewable play. So that's the problem too. The umpire is going to make the call and you live with that call. You can't review that. Just it's a little bit different on the foot on the grass for the infielders when the ball is pitched from the pitcher, you can't have a foot on the grass. That's reviewable. You can go back and say, "Hey, that guy." I mean, we saw it at the end of last season when Kai Correa was the manager of the Giants for those last couple of games. He made a call and said, "Look, go review that." And sure enough, they got it, and it ended up being, I don't know if it was an out or a strike.
Mhm.
It was, but uh,
When you and I were kids,
mhm.
if the throw beat the runner, and you're an outfielder, but I'm sure you played some
I played
infield when
a
you were
lot of
younger.
second base. Yeah.
Yeah. If the throw beat the runner, all we had to do was basically put the tag down, and then we were taught, put it down and pick it up real fast,
Yes.
because you're basically showing the umpire, throw beat the runner, put it down, pick it up, you're done.
Yeah.
And they don't do that in the big leagues. Like, you literally need to show that you placed the glove, and those are calls that they will go to the booth on.
Yeah.
Was your glove physically touching that runner, no matter if the ball beats the runner? And I
Right.
think it's going to be a similar thing in this case, because that, like I said, if the runner knows that the throw is going to beat him, can he scoot around the bag? Like, that's sort of, you can't just go, oh, he's out. Nope. What if
Yeah.
he tries to slide differently? So but when we were in high school, or even in semi-pro, you think you're tough and you're macho and stuff. You're like, oh, that guy blocks the bag. Well, I'm going in spikes high next time.
Yes. Oh yeah, there were definitely guys, especially in high school, you knew who were the tough second basemen that were going to, put a little extra tag on you, maybe tag you in the face. I mean, I remember playing in one game and can't remember the team it was against, but we had the second baseman and we knew, I could see him, number 4. We knew he liked the high tags.
Yeah.
He liked to get you in the head and the face, around the neck. He liked to kind of let you know that, hey, if you're going to come sliding into second base, I'm going to get you. So you always kind of went in a little bit late sometimes, just to, and I was a base stealer. So I'd always kind of look for him. What side of the bag is he on? Because I'm going to kind of come towards him. So it was a different time. We're talking 80s and 90s.
Yeah, a lot different. All right, so what do you think about Logan Webb's quote? Well, we'll do a little bit of a sneak preview, and then we'll do the over-unders at the end. But I don't know. I found that quote very interesting. 2021 was the best regular season of San Francisco Giants history, and Logan Webb says this team is more talented. That's an interesting comment by the guy who is essentially the team leader, Logan Webb.
Yeah, and I get where he's coming from, because when you look at that 2021 team, a lot of that, and I'm not going to say smoke and mirrors, because those guys played lights out baseball. They played fundamental
baseball. Hit home runs too.
They hit home runs, pitching situations where they came in with the bases loaded. A reliever would come in with the bases loaded. They get outs. Everything was just clicking, but it was done with heavy platoons, openers, heavy bullpen usage, tons and tons of moves from AAA, the taxi squad, up and down, up and down, up and down. Because remember, that was the first season after 2020, the shortened season, the Mickey Mouse World Series ring by the Dodgers. So the next season, 2021, was taxi squads. We're going to have some double headers. We're still playing 7-inning double headers if we have to.
And that was the first year. Was that the first year of the extra innings rule, or was that 2020?
That was 2021 was the first year of the extra innings rule. I can't remember if the DH was in the National League yet. I don't believe so at that point quite yet. But yeah, there were so many moving parts, but not the talent level that you have now. When you look at this team, the additions this season, first let's look at the subtractions. You go JD Davis, Jock Peterson, Mitch Haniger. There's 3 guys right there that just really had tough 2023 seasons.
Second half for JD.
Second half for JD. Jock Peterson, was he there in 21? He was. He was mashing the ball in 21. No, actually, he was not. I want to say 22 and 23 was when we had Jock Peterson. Mitch Haniger wasn't around then. Brandon Crawford was there. He had a career year. Alex Wood, Sean Manea was last year. Scott, these are the subtractions for this year. DeSclafani was there in 21. Brandon Belt, Brebbia, Jacob Junis, all those guys were in there. Gossman was there. And then you look at the arrivals this year and you look at the talent difference. Some guys unproven, some guys having fantastic springs. So I can see where Logan Webb is saying, hey, this is a very talented team, probably the most talented I've ever been on because of this. The Giants had a great spring. It started out slow, but they had a really nice offensive spring. Lots of home runs, lots of runs scored. But when you're adding Jung-Hoo Lee, really young, possible rookie of the year candidate, Jorge Soler, 30-plus home run guy, Matt Chapman, another guy who could possibly hit 30 home runs. He's done it in the past, but Gold Glover. Nick Ahmed, Gold Glover. Awesome spring. Tom Murphy, great backup catcher. Blake Snell, National League Cy Young Award winner and American League Cy Young Award winner. Robbie Ray, American League Cy Young Award winner, and Jordan Hicks, who throws 185 miles an hour. The guy's reliever turned starter. So when you look at that talent base and you put it around the youth that the Giants currently have and kind of mentored and brought along last season, Luis Matos, who looks like, a bodybuilder now. You add all of that in, Patrick Bailey, who's coming up, and had a fell off the end of last season, but could possibly be a Gold Glove catcher this season. Tyro Estrada could also be a Gold Glove second baseman. So when you could have 3 Gold Gloves around the infield, and then the outfield with Jung-Hoo Lee.
Essentially you could have third base. I don't know if I would say Ahmed is going to be the shortstop for the entire season, because
probably not.
If he doesn't hit, they are going to probably find a player that, whether it's Luciano or not, but he's got to hit. I think you can't have like Johnny LeMaster at shortstop these days.
Well, but Johnny LeMaster wasn't a Gold Glove.
Yeah, he wasn't as good of a shortstop.
But he could. Here's the thing. I think he could stick around the entire season if Luciano, because Luciano's young.
What do you think he's got to hit? 250, 260?
He could, honestly, if everybody else around him is hitting and you shove him in the 9 hole and everybody else is hitting the baseball and doing really well, but Nick Ahmed is saving runs on the infield and the pitchers are extremely comfortable putting the ball in play, Nick Ahmed could stick around and play 120, 130 games at shortstop this season. I think.
I fear that he hit like all of his home runs in spring training. Like, that's what I fear. Like, he's like, I hit 2.
It's possible.
I'm done. Last year he hit 2, but in 200 at bats.
Right.
But okay, let's look at his offensive numbers for his career. He's a 234 hitter,
right?
288 on base, 376 slugging. So his best. Now I'm talking about his best is his 2020 season. Now, obviously, we talked about this. It was a shortened season. He hit 266, 327 OBP, and a 402 slugging. He actually hit 19 jacks in 2019. So I don't know why I mean, in 18 and 19, he was in double digit, close to 20 for both years for home runs. So I don't know why all of a sudden the power is just not there anymore for him. But maybe with more ABs, he can find something in our park. Who knows? But I do think, I don't know if he's gonna exist on this team with a 257 on base like he was last year. Like, that is, that is really, really bad. Like, I mean, if he's in the low 300s, then I think you can live with that. 257 is terrible, though. I just don't know how that works.
But he did say being cut by the Diamondbacks and having them go to the World Series, he said he got a head start in tweaking his swing, kind of adjusting it more to his age. And the proof is there in spring.
Yeah, he hit
it's just
400.
a matter of, and it matters, does it carry over? So that's kind of the big thing, because now you're going to be facing, former teammate Zach Gallen. You're going to be facing Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who's actually probably could give up 7 runs to the Giants right now.
But here's something interesting. Yamamoto. So I listened to Dylan Hernandez and Tim Kawakami talk about Yamamoto.
I haven't listened to that one yet.
Dylan Hernandez was there in South Korea, and he said that he thinks Yamamoto is either hurt or possibly just arm weary already.
Wow.
And thinks that he's got to be out there because he signed the contract. He said that guys absolutely knew what was coming when he was pitching in that opener. Now, watch next game, when the season starts, he's going to throw a no-hitter, and then Dylan Hernandez is going to be like, whoops. But I thought that was like, wow, like already just right out of the gate, because we remember the first bullpen, how everyone was so excited to watch his first bullpen. Look at the spin on this, and then push comes to shove, first game, boom, Padres beat him.
Oh yeah, and destroyed him. And I know I listened to a podcast. I listened to Rates and Barrels. It's kind of a fun fantasy baseball podcast. I shouldn't be saying that because I'm giving away my secret. I don't. Don't listen to that, Garrett, because I need our league for once. But
I know.
anyways,
I'm in a fantasy slump, man. Football, baseball, and basketball. I need any sort of help that I can
I
get.
feel like this is my year in baseball. Honestly, I don't say that very often, but I think this is my year because my core of Corbin Carroll, Gunnar Henderson, Ellie De La Cruz, and Ronald Acuna Jr. I think are going to lead me to big things. But I was listening to him, and he said, kind of what Yamamoto's MO is control, and he
Mhm.
just did not have the control at all. And he said it could be, looking at some of the deeper numbers, it could be a problem going forward. So if he doesn't have
Interesting.
the control, and his fastball, I guess his fastball is just not that fantastic. He relies on everything else. So if he has to go to his fastball like he did against San Diego, it's going to get hit hard because it's only like 94, I think, and just kind of straight. There's not a whole
Mm.
lot of movement on it. So,
$300 million, man, or whatever
hey,
it was.
it ain't us. That's all I know.
Okay, let's put a pause on that discussion. We're going to come
Yeah.
back with our over-unders. Let's talk about our drink of choice here.
Yeah.
I went with, I don't know if you remember. So remember last year, I was like, oh, it's the year of scotch. It's the year of scotch.
Yes,
I'm
I
going to get into
do.
scotch.
Yeah.
And so I started watching these YouTube videos, and this guy makes a comment. He goes, if you love bourbon and you start drinking scotch, you're going to choose scotch over bourbon. It's just what's going to happen. And I was like, whatever. Bourbon. How can you choose anything over bourbon? Bourbon's so fantastic. And I'm at that point. Like, if I have a
Mm,
good scotch versus a good bourbon, I'm choosing the scotch. And so, if you remember last year's birthday, I think it was my birthday gift from Crystal. She had the scotch subscription,
yeah.
and they just ended up sending me like the same one over and over and over and over. So I got like a free bottle because they kept screwing it up. But so there's an Alexander Murray, I think 17 year, that I was like, wow, this is the best thing I've ever had in my life. And so I have like 2 bottles of it still. And so I busted it out, and that's what I'm drinking.
Nice.
I had so we did our fantasy draft,
Right.
and I forget what I drank that night for our fantasy draft. Might have been some scotch. I did a WrestleMania draft on my other my
WrestleMania draft. What's
my
that?
my fight game podcast. We did some matches. Best built. Like, we just did some fun fantasy stuff on a
Oh, okay.
podcast. And so then
Nice.
I had some scotch there, and I was like, this is so much fun. Anything drafty, I just have an excuse to drink scotch. So
Nice.
I'm
When
back to
when
the
is
scotch.
WrestleMania?
WrestleMania is not this weekend, but next weekend. It's 2 nights.
2 nights. And so if you have Peacock, is that free?
You have Peacock. You
I
get it.
mean, you're paying for Peacock, but
Yes.
you get to
The
watch it.
Rock will wrestle on the first night in the main event.
Okay. So it's Saturday, Sunday?
Yeah, 52-year-old
Ooh.
Rock, looking like the most jacked human, looking like y you know how they in the Marvel universe, they're,
Oh, yeah.
adding muscle to all, like, The Rock is like, "I don't need any graphics. What are you talking about?" And, so he's gonna wrestle on Saturday, and he'll be
Maybe
involved in
maybe in
Sunday as
Black
well.
Adam, they had to, like, tone him down, right?
They're
'Cause
like,
they're
"We gotta
like, "You
make him
can't be in
skinnier."
this suit, man."
Yeah, so WrestleMania, will
Alright.
be I actually wanted to go out to Philadelphia because that's where it is this year,
That'd
but
be cool.
it's I just if I was single and,
Yeah.
didn't have so many responsibilities, I think it'd be easier to go out there, but
Yeah.
I've had my fair share of live at WrestleMania.
I get you because I have a hard time sometimes just getting down to the mailbox like 2 blocks down. So I'm with you. I went with okay, so I got this bottle. I don't know if you've seen this. I showed you a picture of it. The
Yes.
Colonel E.H. Taylor small batch, bottled in bond. This is a hard one to find, I guess, in certain pockets of the country. Um, so my neighbor, he was able to get it. It popped up at one of our local places for $43.99.
Mm.
So he was able to grab me one. And then I went and looked online, and it's like you can find it on some bourbon sites for like $100 or $200. And I see on Twitter, I follow like probably 5 or 6 different bourbon guys, and they'll pop things on Twitter and they'll go, bourbon Twitterverse, what do you think of this? And there'll be a picture of this, the small batch bottle, and it'll say like $199.99, and everybody's like, Oh my gosh, I can't get it here. I'd buy it for that much. But so, anyways, I got it for like $44. It is that this is the second slug I've had of it. The first one was last night when I barbecued some chicken. It is smooth. It is caramel like. It's from Buffalo Trace Distillers.
Okay.
So it's got a little bit. I mean, I taste some Buffalo Trace, um, kind of some of the characteristics in it, but
Mhm.
oh man, it is extremely smooth. Got that nice caramel kick, a real nice finish to it. I got another bottle of something else. Now I can't even remember. In at our local Sam's Club the other day, I sent you a picture of it.
Yes, yes.
I can't think
I
of it
can
at the
look it.
moment.
I can look and
Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond. That one I really like too. It's got a peppery finish, and that I'm probably going to bring something good on vacation next week. But yeah, so that's what I got today. The Colonel, and I'm digging it. If you can find it for like $60 or less, grab 2 bottles, and that's how good I like it.
All right. That's good stuff. And I see you're drinking it neat, so not even
Mhm.
no ice cube, just straight up.
Yeah, no ice cube today. I put a little. There was a tiny. One came out of the fridge like that. I mean,
Okay.
super tiny, like pebble size, and I threw it in there because it's like putting like 2 drops of water,
Mhm.
something like
Mhm.
that. So, and I mean, I don't drink too many bourbons neat, and probably because I buy like $15 to $20 bottles of bourbon. So I usually put an ice cube in them, but I
Yeah.
like my Evan Williams, but I like to put an ice cube or 2 in those. But this, I could go neat with this every single time.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, we're busting out the Bitter Giants fan segment here again, and what it basically means is we're talking trash about one of the other teams, and more than likely the Dodgers. Now, the Dodgers may come out this season and just boat race all of us, and so we
Yeah.
got to take our shots when they're there. So last weekend, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, when the Dodgers were in Korea, there was a story about Shohei Ohtani and his longtime interpreter Ippei Mizuhara. The story goes, the Dodgers fired Ippei Mizuhara because of a story that somewhat changed, and I'm going to go through the timeline of the situation here. And this is from Tisha Thompson's ESPN article from March 22nd. So on Sunday, which was Monday in Seoul, South Korea. Here's the timeline of events: 7:30 p.m. Eastern, Sunday, our time. According to Major League Baseball source, MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred, while in South Korea preparing for the opening series between the Dodgers and the Padres, learns something is happening concerning Ohtani. The source would later say MLB started seeking answers from federal authorities in California early Monday, but received no response. Later, the next day, 3 p.m. Eastern, Monday, ESPN contacts Ohtani's agent, Nez Bolello, to ask about information it has found, including that Ohtani's name appeared to be on 2 wire transfers totaling $1 million. The transfers had been sent in September and October to Southern California bookmaking operation of Matthew Boyer. ESPN receives no immediate response. Okay. That in of itself sounds like a giant story. Shohei
Right.
Ohtani's name is on wire transfers to a bookie. Betting, it's not legal in California, so there's something going on there. And that is all that the MLB, or that is all that ESPN knows at this point.
Right.
The agent, no response. So later that day, a couple hours later, a crisis communications spokesman for Ohtani, who had just been hired, responds to ESPN. So the agent, Nez, does not respond. Instead, a crisis communication spokesperson. Over the next several hours, he and an ESPN reporter talk at various times as the spokesman says he is getting up to speed on information from Ohtani's camp. Later that evening, same day on Monday, the spokesman for the first time says Ohtani paid the debts on behalf of the interpreter Mizuhara. He says Bolello, the agent, went to Mizuhara, who finally came clean and said that was the truth, and that Ohtani told Bolello he had covered Mizuhara's debts in $500,000 increments. It is not clear whether the spokesman is saying Ohtani communicated with Bolello through Mizuhara. The spokesman quotes Ohtani as saying, "Yeah, I sent several large payments. That's the maximum amount I could send." The ESPN reporter, knowing the spokesman worked for Ohtani, wants to hear it from Mizuhara. The spokesman says he will work on arranging that. So that is the first story that came out. That has a quote from Ohtani saying he paid the payments. Now, as always, Ohtani doesn't speak English, so there's always a worry about accuracy of comments, right?
Sure.
And Ohtani can always claim that he was misquoted or whatever. But as that, if we stick with that first story, Ohtani is paying a bookie for his interpreter who has a gambling debt. What, like, we haven't really seen a lot of gambling stuff since Pete Rose, and the whole thing with Pete Rose was about gambling on the game. And so that's what everyone thinks is, did Ohtani gamble on baseball? And, we have no idea. We just know about these two payments. But if you just take that story, the first story, at face value, what is your thought?
That's a tough one. So if you take it at face value, I pretty much have to look at that and say, Ipe racked up a bunch of debt, which first I don't quite understand too, because I don't gamble, but I live in a gambling state and I live in a gambling city in Reno, Nevada. I mean, this is a gambling city. I don't know many sports books that would say, we'll get you up to 4.5 million. No big deal. You don't have to, I mean, just pay it back
Right.
in increments and it's not a big deal. Those are also regulated by the government. So we're talking about an illegal gambling operation in California because sports gambling is not legal in California. It doesn't matter where you do it. You could do it, on an app to New Jersey or to Las Vegas. Doesn't matter. If you're in California, you cannot do it. So the fact that an illegal bookie even let somebody get up to $4.5 million without breaking their legs, I don't quite understand how that happened in the first place. And then to say that somehow, some way, Ipe was able to get into Shohei's bank accounts and get the 4.5 million out of there to help pay it back. I find all of that very, very difficult to believe. And then fast forward to today and Shohei's statements that I was duped, I was robbed by Ipe, who has a gambling problem. Now that's vague too. I was robbed. So was it that Ipe was telling him, I owe $4.5 million on something totally different, and this is who you pay to cover it, and I'll get you back, or because there's no way Ipe is going to get him back.
Going to get him back?
That's what I'm saying. He's not going to get him back for $4.5 million.
Shohei's got to pay. I'm surprised Shohei didn't pay the bookie in like money from 2035. He's going to get from the Dodgers.
Exactly. He said in 10 years, bookie, I'll have the money for you. It's not going to be a problem. So yeah, I just all of it is still all over the place. And I know Shohei came out today and basically said, I didn't know anything about this. I've never gambled on. Yeah, I believe him. He probably has never gambled on sports. I get it. I
But
don't
it
think
discredits what the spokesperson said that he said, right? The
right.
spokesperson that he said that he just sent this money, and then he is saying that he had, he was like blindsided by this. So okay, well
Right.
let's fast forward here a little bit. So we go to Tuesday, and the Ohtani spokesman confirms to ESPN that the gambling debt amounted to at least 4.5 million. And then later on Tuesday, Mizuhara speaks with an ESPN reporter by phone for 90 minutes. The interview has been arranged and is attended by the Ohtani's spokesman. Mizuhara tells ESPN he met Boyer at a poker game in San Diego in 2021. Atlanta Braves infielder David Fletcher, who was friends with Ohtani when they both played for the Los Angeles Angels, had previously told ESPN that he was present at the poker game, but he said he did not introduce the bookie and the interpreter. Fletcher and a source with knowledge of Boyer's operation told ESPN that Boyer gained admittance to the poker game at the team hotel through an acquaintance of Fletcher's. Fletcher told ESPN he had met Boyer once before while playing golf, and they had never placed a bet with Boyer's organization. In the ESPN interview, Mizuhara says he started betting with Boyer on credit shortly after they met, placing wagers on several sports, but not baseball. He says he had previously bet on DraftKings and didn't know Boyer's operation was illegal. At the time, his salary with the Angels was about $85,000. By the end of 2022, he had lost over $1 million and was borrowing money from friends and family. Now, here's a quote from Mizuhara. I couldn't share this with Shohei. It was hard for me to make my ends meet. I was going paycheck to paycheck. You were not going paycheck to paycheck, brother. You were like you like 10 years of paychecks was not going to pay your debt. I don't know what that
Right.
exactly means. Because I had to kind of keep up with his lifestyle, but at the same time, I didn't want to tell him this. He says that they are brothers, and his debt ballooned to $4 million by 2023, and that's when he went to Ohtani for help. He said he feared losing Ohtani's trust and also feared for his safety that someone might come to his house. Okay, blah 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 blah. There's a lot left to this story. I would say
Yeah.
that people should go read this. That is the basis of what we're talking about today.
Right. And we're only on this timeline right now. Like as of today, we're only like 25% into the finality of this all
Mm-hmm.
because of the investigation that's going to happen. Ipe has not been arrested for stealing $4.5 million. That's suspect. Um, Shohei did not mention today in his quote unquote press conference. I call it that because he wasn't taking any questions from the press. So it's not really a press conference, it's a
Right.
statement.
Yes.
But at no point did he say Ipe was in charge of my finances
Right.
or
This
had
is the big problem with this story.
had access to my money, anything. Because if Ipe is going to Shohei's attorneys or people in charge of his money and saying, I need $500,000 and I need it, 7 times over the next 12 months. I think they might bring that up to Shohei and say, "Hey, did you know your buddy is taking 500 G's every couple of months to, you know, pay off some stuff that he's got going on?" I find that all very, very difficult to believe. And Shohei said, "Yeah, I will fully cooperate with the investigation." He's not going to have a choice because if the FBI comes in, because we're talking $4.5 million and we're talking about illegal gambling in California. So the FBI will absolutely be coming in. He's going to have to answer a lot of questions. And it's, I mean, he's not the subject of it at the start, the subject is Ipe, so they're going to get to the bottom of things pretty quickly here.
The problem with this story is that Shohei has not explained how his interpreter has access to his bank account.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Shohei is newly married. I don't know how their finances work. My wife would know if someone stole $100 from our bank account.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, mine too.
Now maybe you're just too rich and it doesn't matter. Maybe, you would assume that he's got a financial advisor who's checking in on his accounts, or, he's got someone helping him. And maybe he tells that person, hey man, if it comes from Ipe, like, don't worry about it. We're kind of helping him out. But for him to say that this guy basically stole from him is quite a reverse of the original story.
Right.
And I wonder what the strategy is here. Now, maybe, again, like we can say, because he doesn't speak English, maybe his original statement through the original report was like, oh yeah, he was misquoted or whatever. It's also possible that he wasn't misquoted and they changed their story. I think that's probably actually even more of what happened. I find the whole thing to be fascinating. I don't think anything's going to happen to Ohtani, and
Right.
I mean, it's sort of funny that he's on the Dodgers and this stuff happens. Like, for us, it's like we're kind of having fun with it, but this dude's like one of the best players of all time. You don't want to see him in this crazy scenario like Pete Rose was once in his band. I don't think it ever gets to that. We'd have to go further into this thing of him betting on actual baseball games for that to happen. But still, it's pretty serious. And I'm very interested in how people cover this story, because on one hand, it is the biggest star in the game. But on the second hand, when you get to the betting of things, I was talking to some friends today and I was like, what if ESPN Bet and DraftKings and all of these gambling companies were just experiments to find out which athletes were betting on their own games, right? Like, what if this is a big experiment and now we're just like, we're going to find all these guys. Who was it was Calvin Ridley was the football player.
Calvin Ridley
suspended for like the whole year.
Yeah.
So this is pretty serious business. And I have a feeling that the story has changed. The interpreter, somehow, I guess I would want Shohei to just explain how this interpreter had access to his account information. Maybe he did go and dig in and find some bank codes and PIN numbers and such. But okay, but here's the other thing, and you live in Reno, so you may know more about this than I do. If you are the bookie, this dude only makes $85,000 a year.
Right.
How can you extend the line of credit to $4.5 million unless you're just like, well, I know who your boss is and I'm going to make sure I get all my money.
Yeah. And again, we don't know what kind of ties this Bauer has or Boyer. We don't know what kind of feelers he has out and what his situation is. But that'd be interesting too. And they're going to get to the bottom of that. The FBI is going to find out, how did you extend this credit? How did you not have a problem with racking up $4.5 million?
Yeah.
But one thing I was listening to Buster Olney, he's kind of mentioning the fact that maybe it didn't bother him because he could go around because he was getting wire transfers with Shohei Ohtani's signature on it. so again, if that's not Shohei's signature, you're looking at theft. You're looking at now forging, uttering a forged weapon, which is basically a check of that magnitude. And there's going to be all kinds of charges against Ipe. Again, that may be why he hasn't been arrested yet, because the investigation is going on. Is he a flight risk? I don't know. I mean, we're talking, a large amount of time in jail. So how they don't have him in custody or haven't arrested him yet, how they don't have the proof yet. They don't have anything yet, other than Shohei and his people saying Ipe stole from us, and Ipe also saying, you know, Shohei covered my debt and everything else. Oh wait, I stole from him. Those are the only things that are going on right now. So, but yeah, I don't know how you get $4.5 million worth of credit. I couldn't go to my local beer joint and ask for like $20 of credit so I can have a couple of beers first. It's not going to happen, but whatever.
So this story is going to continue. This is not the end of it. I can't there's a comparison of when Barry Bonds was dealing with steroids thing and how he was just able to play fantastic baseball,
Yeah.
just because he was able to sort of compartmentalize it and play. Does this affect Shohei? Does this affect
Right.
his mindset? Like, is he gonna, he doesn't have to pitch this year, so he's strictly gonna hit. He's strictly gonna DH. Does this affect how he plays? That is going to be an interesting thing to follow, because I'm sure there's some extra stress on him that wasn't there.
Well, and
before.
that's the whole thing too. Obviously, as Giants fans, we're kind of all for,
Him playing poorly.
yeah, him having a bad season, but a legit bad season. You know what I mean? Like I'm all for him not doing well,
Yeah.
but not because somebody actually stole 4.5 million from him. Somebody he thought was his best friend, and this relationship is ruined, and then he has an awful season. No, I don't want to see that. I mean, but if in any way, shape, or form Shohei was gambling and did lose all this money himself, well, at that point, you kind of get what's coming to you. It is an addiction, of course. So, obviously, I hope he gets the help and all of that. I mean, because that's the whole thing. Sports gambling is growing, and it is snowballing. I mean, I
Yes.
last time I bet on a game was, remember the USC Notre Dame tush push game,
Oh yeah.
the Reggie Bush tush push. That's the last game
That was
I
a
actually.
long time ago. Holy cow.
Exactly, and I live like I can get to a casino in about 3 minutes if I drove down the street. So that's the last time I actually bet on sports, because I don't trust betting on sports in any way, shape, or form. Although that's not right. 2010. Remember, I put I think it was I put $10 on the Giants to win the World Series, and they were like 25 to 1
Oh
odds, and I
wow.
won $250 or something. So
Nice.
yeah, I mean that man, but that was a fun $10 bet, but it is snowballing. It's everywhere. Living here, I could download all 3 major gambling apps, walk into the casinos from my work, which is a 2-minute walk, log in, check into all 3 of those casinos, and then I could just gamble from my couch all day long, every day if I wanted to. That's how easy access it is now, and it's pretty scary. So,
Okay, so let's talk about the over-unders that you prepared for us that we'll
yeah,
use as a little bit of a benchmark for predictions for the how the season's going to go, and we'll
yeah,
circle back at the end of the season to see how we do.
yeah, perfect. Oh, and we just got some cool breaking news. This is not like our breaking news like we had
Oh
last
my
time.
gosh, the Blake
No,
Snell one, which threw
yeah,
the whole show for a
that's
loop.
not at all like this. But San Francisco Giants Productions has just said, that they're releasing at midnight. So it looks like it's going to be tomorrow night at midnight. Jung Hoo Lee's first Major League Baseball spring training full documentary.
Oh wow,
So
that's
that'll be
cool.
really cool. So that'll
That'd
be
be
probably
fun.
on the Giants YouTube site. So
There's not a lot of Jung Hoo Lee baseball cards out there yet.
yeah.
I'm
He's
looking
not
for
even
them.
in the show,
I know.
MLB The
I
Show
know. I wonder what the
24.
deal is with that.
I don't know. He's not in there, but Blake Snell is now on the Giants in that game. I bought that card. That's a fun card. He throws
I
a nasty curveball.
Yeah, there's a what is called a Tops Now card, And the deal with the Tops now is if you go to Tops's website, they'll do like some like, current event kind of thing. And then you can buy the card for
Yeah.
$10 or $20 or whatever. So they have that card out, but there's no, at least I don't think yet, there's no like baseball rookie card of him that has him on a Giants uniform, because they
No.
have some WBC cards for him being on South Korea. And
Right.
I've bid some up on eBay, but they get a little too rich for my taste as
I
far as
bet.
buying a single baseball card. I think I went up to like $35 on one, and I was like, there's still 7 days left on this thing, and they've already
Yeah.
beat my bid. I think I'll sit this one out. So yeah, so it'll be that's what I'm looking for. I'm specifically buying 2024 baseball cards this year. I'm not like buying boxes and boxes
Exactly.
like
You're not going in.
my dad's doing that. I'm sure I'll
Yeah.
be able to get a Jung.
You're not buying
Jung
wax packs.
Well, no, I did. I actually.
Yeah.
So you go to Target and you can buy the retail boxes, and I bought one of those, and there's like 7 packs, but you could also there's bigger boxes. There's a couple different products, but the retail product doesn't have as many fun inserts because it's a little bit of a cheap on the cheaper end.
Yeah.
You go to the hobby store. There's a hobby store right down the street from my house, and they have the hobby packs, and those are like $4 a pack. So I'm like,
because you could get something.
And yeah,
really
the
good,
inserts or the autographs, the odds are a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I'm just, I'm looking for Jung-Hoo. I don't think it's out there yet, but I'll be buying a little bit of the product for the Jung-Hoo. And so one of our listeners just mentioned he's not buying a Chapman, Snell, or Conforto jersey, but and it makes sense because they're only going to be on the team for a year. But I do wonder, when we go to our game in July, we're going to back-to-back games, and I already talked to Darren Chan from DC, from KMBR, and he's going to try and possibly get us to say hi in the booth. He's going to try and make it work. How many, what's going to be the dominating jersey out there, do you think?
It's going to be Bailey. It's going to be Lee. It's going to be Webb.
Probably a lot of Posies,
and there's always throwbacks. So you're going to get Posey, you're going to get a Kuiper jersey, you're going to get Kruko jerseys, you're going to get Brandon Crawford jerseys, because those are still fresh. People are still going to wear those to the game. I still haven't figured out what I'm going to wear yet. I gotta go to some of my sites and scout out some Giants jerseys. My $25 Giants jerseys. But I do have a Willie Mays, so I might wear that. That's kind of fun. But yeah, I don't know. I think you're going to see a lot of Baileys. I think you're going to see a lot of Webbs, and I think you're going to see a lot of Lee. Because I would buy a J.H. Lee jersey in a heartbeat. I would absolutely. Because we know he's at least going to be here for 4 years? I think he has an opt-out after 4. So
yeah. No, that's going to be interesting. So somebody said in our chat, let's see. So Rap Album Depot said Jung-Hoo Lee makes the team so much more of a compelling watch. I am hoping for Angel Pagan meets Stan Javier. And I
there you go.
wrote back, Stan Javier is quite a deep cut. Yeah,
big time.
I'm hoping for poor man's Ichiro. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. Stan Javier, I think he holds the answer to a great trivia question. I think he hit the first interleague home run in the history of interleague play.
Oh, wow.
And it's when we played the Rangers, either for the Giants.
I remember that. No, I think you're right.
Either for the Giants or overall in all of interleague play, the first interleague home run ever. So it's kind of a fun trivia. Stan Javier, man.
Bay Area's own. Like he played for the A's and for the Giants.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I mean, those were the motor guys of the A's, right? Stan Javier, Mike Gallego, those types of guys, man. Those are Terry Steinbach. Those were the motor guys, not the guys who are all jacked up on roids hitting bombs.
Walt Weiss.
Walter Weiss, yes.
I'm reading that book on the 80s and 90s Giants.
Yeah.
And I got to the 89 World Series, and so I got to be sad all over again.
Yeah.
But you think back and you're like, I don't know if Kevin Mitchell was taking stuff because he did go from like 30 home runs to 49 home runs.
Juice ball.
But geez, like McGuire and Canseco, both on the stuff. And I guess in some sense it's a little bit like, okay, like, and Bonds as well. And I don't know if probably other players on those teams.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, that was when no one was really talking about that stuff, except if you were watching professional wrestling, then they were talking about it. But baseball, people didn't really know about that. And it's quite possible that we got beat by the steroids, man.
Oh yeah. I almost guarantee you we did.
All right, let's get to the over-unders.
Makes me feel better. All right, over-unders. Let's see here. All right, last year we sucked, but this year, and I've already made my picks.
Okay.
And some of these are based on some Zips. I'm going to throw in some Zips predictions as well for you too. So I'm going to throw those in. So first off, first question we have is a yes, no. We have 5 predictions for the season. Yes or no. At the All-Star break, the Giants will be a top 6 seed in the National League. Remember, there's 6 seeds to get into the playoffs. So at the All-Star break, the Giants will be top 6. Yes or no?
I am going to say, man, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I want to. Why don't can we end with that one? And so you gave it to me.
Absolutely.
But let's end with it, because what I want to do is, while we're talking, I want to look at the rest of the teams in the NL and see who I think that they could possibly beat before I answer.
Now, just to give you a kind of a heads up too, Zips has the Giants at the end of the season as the 6th seed based on.
I saw that their number kept going up.
Yeah. So they're at 83 wins is what Zips has the Giants at, which would put them in the 6th seed. That's at the end of the season, though. So the question would be, will they be in the top 6 at the All-Star break? So let's hop on to the next one. Okay. Over under. Here's your favorite. We're on stolen bases. Over under, because last year the Giants had 57 stolen bases. That is good for 30th out of 30 teams in Major League Baseball. Dead last. Over under 99.5 stolen bases this year. So we're looking at getting, 43 more stolen bases.
I still think under.
Could they do it? Under.
I still think under.
I like this comment we have here too.
No, so so we had a listener said we should ask Ipe what he believes, and then we just do the opposite on his bets.
Guaranteed wins. Good job, Haruku.
Okay, so let me tell you why I'm going under.
Okay,
I think Tyro will still steal. He'll steal a handful for sure, and I think Jung-Hoo will steal a few for sure.
Absolutely.
But outside of that, who's going to steal bags? I guess Chapman will steal a few. I don't know anybody else though.
Solaire's not going to.
He's not.
Tom Murphy's not going to.
Yaz and Slater. Slater may steal a few. Yaz has had leg injury. Maybe Matos. I still think they're on the end of the slow guys. I mean, Wilmer is going to steal about -7, so you have to subtract 7 bags off of whatever their number is.
Yeah. Let me throw this at you though. They have let me I got to pull it up again. I got to look at the Zips projections for the Giants. Let me pick the Giants here. They have and I was going to throw this as a question, but I thought I don't like this question at all. They have Tyler Fitzgerald playing 124 games for the Giants this year.
So they don't think Nick Ahmed or maybe even one of the outfielders,
Conforto, possibly even Conforto, and they're not maybe factoring in Luis Matos, even though they do have Luis Matos playing 132 games.
That's interesting.
So they have Matos stealing 10 bags and Fitzgerald stealing 15. So I'll just throw that out there. So if Tyler Fitzgerald gets some playing time,
Tyler Fitzgerald, if he was able to ultimate pinch runner for Wilmer, he could probably steal about 100 bags.
How about designated runner for Wilmer?
That's what I meant. That's what I
Wilmer's
meant.
speed in MLB The Show
0.
24 it is 12, and it is painful. That's out of 99. It is extremely
No, I think it's is
painful
it
when he's on the
is
base
it a
path.
99? Because I know some of the
Yeah, yeah.
hitting ones, it goes up to 125
Oh,
or something.
it can go up to that if you have the busted, all the other
Got it.
stuff.
Got it.
But stealing bases is 99. Yeah,
12.
when he's on base, I'm like, come on, man.
I
Hit
feel
one
like
in the
that would be
gap and it'll go.
that might be my base running speed in MLB The Show, 12.
Somebody asked the other day what mine, they said, what would your speed be now? Even though I'm 50, I said I would be 70. I would be a 70. I still have the wheels, but instead of 70, because I'm an idiot, I picked 69 because I think it's so
And you're probably a smarter base runner these days. You know how to get a little bit better
That's
jump
true.
than you did when you were in your 20s.
That's true. Although my hip would probably be like, dude, like a 40.
Yeah, if you could just go one time, if you just had to run the bags one time to get your rating, you could get up to 69.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. All right, so you've got a no, you've got an under on that. I
got an under.
I also chose under because I think they're gonna find more stolen bases, but I think they're gonna get closer to like 85, 90. I know the 99.5 was shooting a little high, but middle of the pack last year was 115. That was the 15th team in the league had 115 stolen bases. So, all right,
maybe they could trade for somebody.
Yeah, it's possible. So over under 20.5 starts for Kyle Harrison this season. Now we're just talking
20.5.
starts in the majors. We're not talking innings. We're not talking, Zips has him at 28 starts. But here's the catch. Zips also has him at 106 innings pitched.
Oh my gosh.
In
so
28
like
starts.
4 innings a start, 4.5 innings a start.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I'm going to go over. I think as long as he's not hurt, it's going to be one of those things where they're going to want to really get him those reps. And again, now he can always get hurt. There can always be some fatigue and maybe shut him down. But I think if he's battling and he's competing, even if he's not pitching well, I think you run him out there. Now the flip side is that he actually does pitch well, and he's a great rookie for the team, and he goes out there 30 some odd times and throws 165 70 innings. So you know what's kind of funny? They have Blake Snell and Kyle Harrison on the same team. What the hell?
Yeah.
They're just like these freaky lefties who, have these crazy pitches, and they only expected to go 5 innings every start.
Exactly. And then that's the thing too, is like if the Giants can somehow mix that up, I know we're going, Webb, Harrison, Hicks, 1, 2, 3 to start the season. So if they can get Snell in there and they can go right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left.
Yeah.
Then you're going to have some fun against some of the teams that we haven't had a chance to do in the past. But yeah, I know funky lefties are kind of a fun deal.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's always a chance the Giants could have 2 of the top 3 National League Cy Young Award finalists and a top Rookie of the Year finalist in either Jung-Hoo Lee or Kyle Harrison. And possibly Luciano if, things pan out. Or because I don't think Matos is not eligible. You know what? I don't even know if Luciano is eligible. I have to look that up.
I think he has to be eligible.
He's still, but I don't think Matos is.
So I have an answer to your yes or no top 6.
Okay, sure.
I'm going to say yes, because I took a look at some of the teams. Now, Shelvin, his D-backs, I'm going to assume the D-backs have a good year based off of last year's World Series appearance. And I have them as number 2 behind the Dodgers. Now, this is all reliant on the Padres just going like, you know what, guys? Machado, we're just going to sell off. Like, we're going to regroup for next year. But if you go Braves, obviously. Now, the Marlins were decent last year. If you go Braves, Phillies in the East, you go Cards, maybe you go Cubs. I'm not sure about the Central. I have to really look at those teams. The Reds are going to be fun.
Brewers are okay.
Brewers are okay, but they gave up Burns.
Yeah.
And it's like Dodgers, D-backs, Giants. So the Giants may be 6, they may be 8, they could be 5. I'm just going to say yes because my hope is that they start well. And if they fade, I would expect them to fade late rather than early. So
they do get pitching reinforcements late too.
Yeah, Robbie
nice.
Ray,
Although,
Cobb.
And we could be looking in May. We could be looking at Webb, Snell, Harrison, Cobb.
Here's the thing. So you and I are going to a game on a Wednesday night and a Thursday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
What if we got like Webb Snell? That would be awesome.
Man, that would.
I mean, even if it's Hicks Harrison, it's still super fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like that's the thing is, Cobb is reliable. I saw him almost throw a no-hitter last year. So
yeah, that's like the heyday of the Giants. When you would go to a Giants game, you could get Timmy, you could get Mad Bum, you could get Kane, you could get good or bad Jonathan Sanchez, one or the other.
Vogel's song, depending on enchiladas that he ate that day.
So far, I also said over to Kyle Harrison's 20.5 starts because I think he's a bulldog, but yeah, I think they're going to limit his innings, but they're not going to limit his starts.
What if?
Yeah.
Okay, let's say Cobb is back, Ray is back, and they got basically 6 starters instead of 5.
Mm-hmm.
What if the deal is like Harrison goes 4, Hicks comes in and goes 4, and then we turn it over to closer? That would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, that'd be nice because then you'd be going funky lefty with some dirty, nasty strikeout stuff. Then you're going, high-powered right-hander with dirty, nasty strikeout stuff. And then you're going to Camilo Doval coming in with the orange lights and the spotlight on him.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, we're gonna have spotlight on the closer coming in now on Camilo. I mean, the entrance for Camilo is going to be insane. Yeah. I think Pavs and Cole Kuiper were alluding to the fact that when Pablo plays tomorrow night, there's a good chance that maybe he takes the mound and get a little spotlight on him.
That's interesting.
So that'll be kind of fun. So you and I have the same on everything so far.
Okay.
So, all right. We got to mix it up here somehow. Okay. So over under 65.5 home runs for a combo of Soler, Chapman, and Conforto.
Ooh.
And I almost put in Matos.
Okay. I thought you were going to say Soler 29.5 because that is like the magic number for him. Yeah. Like, can anybody really hit 30 home runs as right-handed hitter?
I didn't put that because I know we all want to say over. So that's,
here's some optimism.
Okay.
This is very reliant on Conforto actually playing good baseball this year.
Yeah.
I'm going to go over.
Okay.
Can we get, let's say Soler is between 25 and 30.
Right.
Then you just need 15-ish from the other two guys.
Exactly. And Chapman hit 17 last year. So you need him to hit 17, and you need Conforto to just have a season where he hit 17. What did he hit last year, Conforto? I think he hit also close to 15.
Good question.
Let's look it up. Last year he hit... Well, he didn't hit 147 home runs. That's his total. He hit 14 last. No, I'm sorry. He hit 15 last year. So I mean, we're talking 15 plus 17 plus whatever Soler hit last year. Oh God, I gotta do math here.
I'm going 25 or more for Soler. I don't think he's gonna hit 35 bombs. I just think it's just a little difficult, and the expectations are high, and he's a little older, and there may be some injury things, but I'm going 25 for him for sure.
Okay.
So if you go 17 and 18, then we're right there.
Well, let's look at last year.
close.
So last year, 17 and 15 is 32 plus 36 for Soler. You're looking at 68. So 68, and I put it at 65.5. So you're saying over. I also said over. So far, neither one of us can win this thing.
All right. Well, let's go to the last one, and I'll
yeah.
make sure I choose the opposite of what you chose.
You don't want to choose the opposite. I'm just going to let you choose what you want to choose. And
Okay.
if we need a tiebreaker, I'll come up with a tiebreaker. And the next time we do our show,
Okay.
I'll have a tiebreaker.
Okay.
Over under 85.5 wins this season.
Gosh, that's like the perfect number.
Yeah. Zips has us at 83.
That's
why I picked it. That's why I picked 85.5, because that 86 is kind of the sweet spot for the 16 playoffs.
Yeah, I'm going to say over, and I'm going to say they're going to win 87 games, actually.
Okay.
Because
let's do this. You picked 87. I also picked the over, and I picked actually 89 wins.
Oh, wow.
So whoever's
more
closest,
optimistic than I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
So whoever's closest is going to get that. Yeah.
All right. 89 would be a fantastic season, I think.
Yeah, that'd be a great season.
87 would be really, really solid for us.
Yeah,
and
probably
I would assume we make the playoffs with 87 wins, and with 89 wins, I'm sure we make the playoffs. So
yeah, absolutely.
There's no fun in going like, oh yeah, the Giants are going to win 77 games.
No, who's going to pick that? Come on.
No.
You know who's going to pick that? Mets fans.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's going to pick that?
Yeah, here's the thing. I think it is imperative for Farhan Zaidi to have a good season, which means when it comes down to it, if the Giants are sniffing the playoffs, he knows that his future is not long if they don't play well.
Yeah.
He's going for it, right? And
there's going to be some playoff. Some trade deadline moves. Did you see Jim Bowden predicted that we were going to trade for Vlad Jr.?
Oh my God.
And his last year of, because I guess he has one more year of control, that we were going to try to get Vlad Jr. At the trade deadline this season. So,
wow.
I don't know. That'd be
crazy.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy. All right. So tomorrow, later today, if you're listening on the podcast feed, we will be on Bleacher Report. So download that app, and I think you somehow get notifications for the Giants. Yep. And we're going to go live at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. And then next week, Brad is going to be on vacation. We're also going to supposedly be on the Bleacher Report app that Thursday. Brad's going to make it work, but he's going to miss our normal show. I'm going to try to get my buddy Draven on the show, who's a diehard Dodger fan, and I want to get his thoughts on what's going on. So here's what he told me, and I'll be interested if he says this on air. He thinks there's so much pressure on this team to win the World Series that it's like World Series or bust. If you don't win the World Series, everything that they've done is for naught. That's crazy pressure.
I mean, I get it, but I totally get it. And we are going to laugh our asses off if the Dodgers don't win the World Series this year. That's bottom line, because we're Giants fans.
Yes.
But the problem is, you turn around and look, and this team in 2025 still has Shohei, but now he's a pitcher. They still have Yamamoto, who could, start to learn the ways of pitching and start to learn, the hitters here stateside. And then they also still have Betts, and they also have Freeman, but they're getting years older. So yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's a bold statement.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about. But I was there with the Warriors. If the Warriors didn't win titles, you were just like, oh God, what a waste.
Yeah, what's it for?
You go and get KD and then you lose. Like I've been there, so I get what he's talking about. All right, I want to shout out some of the folks who were in the chat today. Haruku Hitoki, he was I guess I shouldn't say he. I would say they, because I don't know. The Haruku Hitoki. Thank you for jumping in the chat. Has been in the chat a lot of late. Of course, Shelvin, who's a Diamondbacks fan and a 49ers fan and somehow watches our Giants podcast. Shout out to Shelvin. China Basin Chronicles was in the chat today.
Nice. Excellent. I have
Also
to give them a follow. I'm going to hop in there.
Somebody named Taylor, and then Rap Album Depot, who has been tweeting or who's been in our comments, and also somebody named Alex, somebody named Scott. So some new folks who checked in on us, maybe because you got named as like a really fun Giants follow the other day.
I guess
that might be because there might be some new folks.
I just talk truth, man. That's pretty much it. I mean,
right.
we're a bit of homers. Yeah, we're a bit of homers because we pitched this show as we're just kind of hanging out and drinking and talking about our favorite team. So
I mean, we'll be realistic about the team, but we want them to win. We're not like unbiased reporters who are like, oh, we don't care if the Dodgers win. No, we want the Giants to win.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
All right. So Brad will be off next week on this show. Check us out on the Bleacher Report app. And in 2 weeks, we'll be back on this show and we'll have some actual games to talk about. So for Brad, I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.
Peace.